Well, hello everybody and happy Monday. How are you? My name is Scott Pinyard. I am the head coach here at This Naked Mind, and I am here like I am here every Monday around 4 p.m. Eastern Time to do a live, to talk a little bit about things that I'm thinking about, things that I see, parts of this journey, which we know can be so long and winding. So I'm really excited about what I have to talk about today, specifically because it is something that, man, I wish I knew it. Like, I really wish that I knew what I'm about to talk about when I started my journey. And that is small steps. So I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Before I do, though, I want to invite you to join Annie Grace and I for a totally free 3-day event. We are going to be going into material that is going to shift your thinking. It is going to change the way you think about alcohol and the world and yourself and your place in it. And that seems like a really big check to write, but I'm comfortable doing it. We want to give you some of the most life-changing information that we have, and we're going to do it totally for free. So you can find out more about it. It happens June 6th to 8th. Once a day for those 3 days, we are going to be live, and we are going to talk through everything that we see and know around this journey, around this idea of changing your relationship with alcohol. So you can find out more, sign up for free at controlalcohollive.com. That link is also in the description of this video. Again, that's controlalcohollive.com. So I want to talk about small steps. And as I get into this, I want to invite you to send me comments, say hello to me. I love doing these. I love being able to connect with you guys. So hearing from you makes all the difference in the world to me. So please say hi, tell me where you're at in the world, tell me what questions you have. I'll get to them as I go. So here we go. Small steps. Hey, Nikki, how are you? Thank you, Nikki. You know, this is something that I see a lot of, right? And normally this process goes like this, right? We decide we want to make a change. And by the way, this is applicable to so many things other than alcohol. It's definitely applicable to alcohol, but any big change you want to make in your life. And so people make this decision. Oh, thank you for my shirt comment, Lynn. I really like this. They're skulls and it's Western. It's like perfect for me. Hey, Ian in London, Catherine in the UK, Nikki in the UK. Hello, hello. So, you know, we decide we want to make this change, and then we're like, all right, great, I'm going to change. Boom, here I go, right? I'm going to quit drinking. Tomorrow, that's it. I'm done drinking. What tends to happen almost all of the time when we want to make a really big change in our lives, hello, Maria. Hello, Lisa in Florida. When we want to make this really big change in our lives, what happens is we make this decision, we go full out, right? Cheryl in Australia, welcome. We go full out and we say, I'm going to change, like today's the day, here we go. And then, you know, especially with something like alcohol, same with diets or quitting smoking, we don't change overnight. And then we start to beat ourselves up. And so we talk a lot here about letting go of shame and blame and why letting go of those things are so key to growth. And we'll continue to talk about that, but that's not what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about here is the power of recognizing small steps. See, no matter what change we're making, we often set ourselves up to be let down with this change process, right? It happens all of the time. Here's what I mean, right? So we decide we want to do something big. And again, this applies to, you know, changing your relationship with food or smoking or changing your thoughts, whatever it might be for you, right? So we decide we want to do this. We get really excited about it. We can see the future us experiencing this change. We get very motivated, right? Maybe we look at some before and after photos. We do all types of things. And then because of that feeling good, because of how good it feels to think about it, we just do it, right? We just try to make the change. And the number of people that we work with that decide to just quit drinking and just put down the drink without any other work, without doing anything else, it's really high, because this is how society has taught us to change. Oh, you want to change? Oh, it's easy to quit drinking. Just put down the bottle. That's not how it works. And oftentimes what happens is this old voice starts to creep, or sorry, oftentimes reality sets in, right? It gets hard. I remember when I went through this, and I have a story to tell you about my experience on this earlier too. Like, it's way harder than you think. And so we may struggle through it for a bit, but oftentimes we end up back in our old behavior, and then that old voice creeps in, right? The shame and the blame come crashing down on us. And we say, like, oh, I thought you wanted to quit, or what's wrong with you, right? We've all had these conversations. Tell me in the chat if you've had this conversation with yourself, right? What's my problem? What's wrong with me? This shouldn't be so hard, right? Oftentimes, this voice actually ends up making us do more drinking or more eating or more smoking, right? It ends up making us do more of the thing that we want to stop doing. It literally has the opposite effect. And so why does this happen, right? I mean, if you think about any sort of major change you might want to make in your life, the idea of like just doing it whole hog seems intense. Only every day, Nikki. Yeah, exactly. Right? Oftentimes it's because the reason that we do this is because we are ignoring the small incremental steps on how change actually works. See, we get all excited about that end point, and it's really great to have this end vision, but it's also really important to be able to understand that this is a process. Hey, Cheryl in Australia. See, we get in this phase where all we focus on is the end result. And when we do this, anything other than achieving that end result is by definition a failure. The reality is way more complicated than did I make it or not, right? The reality is that all change, everything you have ever wanted or will ever want to change happens in pieces, especially with big things like alcohol, right? It takes time and it takes small incremental steps. And this is the piece, friends. This is the piece that we ignore so often. This is the piece that we just don't give ourselves credit for, and it makes a huge difference. And the reality is, yeah, those steps don't feel as sexy as quitting drinking forever, right? Right? Those steps, if you look at it and you're like, wow, I either want to go totally alcohol free or learn more about it. Yeah, we want to go totally alcohol free. But there's a reason that those small steps are there. There's a reason that so many people take those small steps, and it's because they work, right? I told you I had a story about this from my own journey. And when I was working to shift my relationship with alcohol, I wanted nothing more than to be done drinking forever. Let's see. Oh, I missed some comments. Yeah, Lynette in Gold Coast, welcome. Nikki, I'm full of good intentions, and if I'm not perfect, I'm crap. Yes, Nikki, this is what I'm talking about, so I'm glad you're here. Amy says, hi, failed again in Freehold, New Jersey. Amy, listen to what I have to say here about that. So, I knew that things weren't working. I knew that I had to make a shift. I knew that I had had so many day ones. Yes, Ian, right? Now only used to stop the pain when I don't, but it doesn't stop. I totally understand. Right? So I was in this position too, and I could see the pain and the problems it was causing in my life. I mean, I could feel it every day. I could see it in my relationships. I could see it in my wallet. And because of that, I thought I had everything I needed to change. Because what we're told, right, is that in order for us to change, we need to get like really angry and get really upset about what's happening to us right now, and then make the change. And this whole idea, so the mainstream thinking goes, which by the way is BS in my book, if that pain is great enough, then we'll run away. And so because of that, I just did it. I remember so clearly the first time I'm like, I'm just going to quit drinking. And I was all excited about living an alcohol-free life. At the time, I called it a sober life. This is before I heard of This Naked Mind or anything else. So one day I'm just like, all right, I'm not going to have a drink when I come home. Guess how that worked? It felt terrible, right? It felt like I was plagued by cravings and urges. And I lasted, honest to God, I lasted about 45 minutes before I went into the kitchen and poured myself a scotch. And I was so mad at myself, right? I tried to jump from having the thought that I could change to making the change. And anything less than that, right? Anything less than that at all, I deemed unsatisfactory. I deemed not good enough. And so with this quit attempt, with this very first quit attempt, that's what happened. I'm like, dude, what's wrong with you? Those questions that I told you at the beginning, like, what's wrong with you? Don't you want to change? Those were questions I was asking myself. And so I saw this attempt as a failure. And because I continued to drink. But the reality was I learned a ton from it, right? I learned that it was going to be a lot harder for me than I thought it would to let go of alcohol. I learned that I needed to make some adjustments to my schedules and routines and change things up to help with the cravings. I learned a lot more than that. When I look back at my journey, when I realized that it wasn't just done, it was lots of small steps, right? And what I want to point out today is that, Ian, for you, so many day ones, and Amy in New Jersey, saying you failed again, and Nikki saying, if I'm not perfect, I'm full of crap. What I want to point out to you is that each of these small steps is the process. Like thinking about it, yes. Like actually having the thought, yes, that is a small step. You don't have to do it right away. Google searches about it. I mean, how many of us have searched like, am I an alcoholic or how to quit drinking, right? That's part of the process. Talking to people who've been there, reading the book, This Naked Mind, the book, right? Writing in my journal was a big part of it for me. Those were individual steps. If I had defined that day, I'm like, oh, I'm going to quit drinking today, and the only thing that's success is quitting drinking, well, I would have skipped over what I learned about myself in the journal. I would have skipped over all the things that I learned about alcohol and the world and my place in it and what it all means, right? I found that I had to reread the book. That in and of itself was a step. Then more writing in my journal. Then I made the change. And that is a very abbreviated list, but I'm giving you that list to say that this entire process is a journey of small steps. And if there's one thing that I see over and over and over in our programs, there's one thing that I see over and over and over in people that I talk to, even on the street, it is that they don't see this. They don't see that it's a bunch of small steps stacked on top of each other. They just define success as quitting drinking, and anything else less sucks. But the thing is, in order to get to the point where you quit, you need to go through these small steps. So each one of those things that I listed was a step. And each was so important on my journey. I can say, looking backward right now, I can see all of these things, right? All of these things where I ended up really, learning about myself and everything else. I can see how they all added up to where I went to. And yeah, there were dead ends. I read a lot of books that didn't help. I went to AA for a while and it wasn't for me. It didn't work for me. But that was learning what didn't work. And that was just as valuable. And so what I want you to take away from what I have to say to this today is this. Each step on the path is valuable. Each step makes a difference. Each time you do a Google search, each time you watch a video like this, each time you journal, each time you talk to somebody, each time you try but slip backward, each time you think about the future without it, each time you engage with anything around changing your relationship with alcohol, every single one of those things is a step, and every single one of those deserves to be celebrated. Watching this video right now, you watching this video deserves to be celebrated. You listening to a podcast, about it, you doing a Google search, you reading a book, right? You making an attempt and maybe not getting where you wanted to go, that deserves to be celebrated, because every single one of those steps is getting you closer to where you want to be. I wrote a cheesy sentence in my notes today, for this today, but this is what's so important to remember. The road to your goal is paved with these small steps. Jumping to the end isn't an option. And so if you think about it, and this is really the kicker, right? If you look at it this way, then you can celebrate each one. You can celebrate that you're watching this video. You should celebrate when you try and don't make the progress you want to. Now you know more of what doesn't work. You should celebrate each and every step, because they are all getting you where you want to go. But more than that, that's good news, but here's even better news. You deserve the credit. I think so often we spend time defining success as not drinking, but the reality is, like we've said over and over, this is a process. You are putting in effort, you are putting in time, you are putting in heart and soul, you are putting in your thoughts, maybe you're putting in your money. Whatever that is, you deserve credit. You are doing the work. And taking time out to recognize that for yourself, to celebrate that for yourself, makes a gigantic difference. And here's the other thing, right? When you actually celebrate this, when you take the time to celebrate this, you are more likely to keep going. And we have this policy, we talk about this in our programs. We have this idea of a data point, right? So we don't use the terms like relapse or slip off or fell off the wagon. Those all seem like negative to us and don't actually help us feel good, right? Positive emotion is the key to lasting change, as we say. And so the idea of using those words just doesn't fit. So we call them a data point, and we celebrate data points, right? We celebrate the fact that, hey, I learned something here. Wow, I shouldn't go to that friend's house on my first day alcohol-free. Wow, stress is way more of a trigger than I thought, right? When we do this, it makes us want to re-engage. It takes away the blame and the shame. So celebrate those small steps and see them for what they are. The bottom line is that if the process is full of woe and regret that you're not at the end yet, how likely are you to keep going? Right? I mean, for me, I would have these periods of time, I call them windows, but I would have these periods of time when my mind was open, when I was like, okay, I think I can make this change now. Like, now's the time, right? And I would try and it wouldn't go well, and I didn't understand this concept, and so when it didn't go well, I just beat myself up, and that window closed. That window was closed. And I had no idea how long it was closed for, by the way. Sometimes it closed for a week or a couple of days. Other times it closed for months at a time. When we don't celebrate these small steps, when we don't give ourselves the space and the ability to just lean in to what's happening, to recognize the effort and the work that we're putting in, when we don't give ourselves the opportunity to give and provide and see where we can go, when we can't learn from those lessons, man, it sucks. And of course that window will close. So if you make this process feel horrible and you don't give yourself any credit, you don't celebrate those small steps, it's going to be horrible. But if, on the other hand, you are celebrating progress, not perfection, imagine how much more likely you are to keep going. Those small steps are what make the big change. Make no mistake about it. No one starts from saying, I'm going to quit drinking, and then immediately does so. What they always have to do, they always have to go through the process of doing these small steps to get where they want to go. So give yourself the gift of celebrating small steps, right? Take out this idea that, like, oh, I have to be perfect, or I have to do it this way, or I have to quit right away. Give yourself credit for watching this video. Give yourself credit for reading things on the internet, for connecting with people, for talking about this, for thinking about this, because it's those things that get you where you want to go. Give yourself the credit because you deserve it. So I hope all of that makes sense. That was just something that I really felt this morning when I was writing this out and I was, looking at some of our programs. And I want to get to some comments here too. And please, keep the comments coming in. So Ian says, as much as I want to quit, I wonder what I would be without a beer in the evening. It has become part of life. Yeah, Ian, recognizing that is huge. That's something to work on. That is something we talk about regularly in our program. So please, bring the conversation here, talk about it, right? That's a small step. That's progress, right? Figuring that out, dealing with your fear or concerns or worries about that helps you. Lisa says, 0 acknowledgement from what I've accomplished thus far from my family. 3 months already. I'm sorry to hear that, Lisa. But the good news is that you know what you've done, right? The good news is how you're feeling. So recognizing, hey, man, maybe I need more comments from people, having a conversation with people about it. Again, that's a small step. Right? You've done amazing things. And this is another thing here that you can do to feel better. Thank you for sharing that, Lisa. And I'm positive that a conversation can really help you out. Alina Ropp says, I've read the book, did the paid program, still in a bad place. What would you recommend? Alina, I'm not sure what program you mentioned. If you want to know, like, absolutely, and we're about to close this, and I don't think it's going to be open in its current form again. But the path from This Naked Mind, that is the one that has the absolute, like, silver bullet flagship, all of those sort of terms. That is the program that we have seen shift people's relationship with alcohol the most. So get in there and do that program. Also, don't allow yourself to give up. Each of those things, reading the book, the paid program, whichever one that was, those were each small steps, right? Watching this video is a small step. It's getting you closer to where you want to go. I hope that's helpful, Alina. I also hope I'm saying your name right. Nikki said, if I actually think about it, I'm much better than I was and have lots of free days. Then I drink again and assume I've failed. Yeah, Nikki, that's what I'm saying. Like, let go of that idea. There's no such thing as failure. Every single one of these things are small steps to where you want to go, right? You don't have to say, now I'm a failure, right? What you just recognized here is massive, right? You're better off than you were a year ago. That's incredible, right? Celebrate that. Do a little dance. Pat yourself on the back. However you want to do it. That is worth celebrating. And thank you for sharing that, Nikki. Let's see. Other Nikki says, everyone here gets a star. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so Alina, shoot us an email at hello@thisnakedmind.com. Tell them that you were talking to me on the live, and just send me a little synopsis of what you did. I'll be happy to write you some recommendations or kind of like look at, give you some ideas for next steps. So everybody, that is it from me. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I want to say again, don't forget about the small steps. Those small steps make such a difference. And don't forget, too, that we have a free virtual event coming up. It's June 6th through 8th. You can sign up at controlalcohollive.com 3 days in a row. It's on our fancy new platform. Annie and I are going to be going live, and we are going to give you information that is going to shift the way you think. Each one of those videos is a small step, so I highly recommend that you join us. Again, go to controlalcohollive.com. It is 100% free. We would love to have you join us there. It's going to be an amazing time. So thank you for hanging out with me today, everybody, and I'll see you next Monday. Take care.